The old woman sat down heavily on the park bench, letting out a long sigh. She closed her eyes, bracing herself against the onslaught of memories that always seemed to come at this time of day. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the park, she couldn't help but feel a deep sense of melancholy. It had been so long since she'd experienced true joy, since she'd allowed herself to even consider the possibility of happiness. Her life had become a monotonous routine of wake, work, eat, sleep, repeat. Day in and day out, she'd wake up before the sun, dreading the day ahead. She'd work tirelessly, burying herself in tasks, seeking solace in the predictability of her responsibilities. Meals were eaten in silence, not out of choice but out of habit. Sleep came easy, offering a temporary escape from the relentless cycle of despair. She was once told by a well-meaning therapist that her issues stemmed from a fear of change. He suggested that she needed to embrace new experiences, step out of her comfort zone. But how could she possibly do that when the mere thought of tomorrow brought her to tears? How could she possibly change when all she wanted to do was curl up and disappear? As the years went by, her world became smaller, her dreams more muted. At some point, she stopped dreaming altogether. It wasn't until she retired that she realized the extent of the life she'd denied herself. Now, with time seemingly on her side, she could finally do all the things she'd put off for so long. But the prospect of an extended period of nothingness filled her with dread. What if the quiet drove her insane? What if she spent her remaining days consumed by her own thoughts? One day, as she was aimlessly wandering through the park, she came across a group of children playing. Their laughter was infectious, their joy palpable, and for a moment she found herself smiling. It was the first genuine smile she'd seen in what felt like forever. A small part of her, a tiny ember that refused to be extinguished, stirred to life. Could it be possible to experience happiness again? Could she learn to embrace change? She started by making small changes, taking small steps outside of her comfort zone. She began by signing up for a painting class, something she'd always wanted to do but never had the courage to pursue. The first day of class was terrifying. Her hands trembled as she held the brush, her heart pounding in her chest, but as she began to paint, she felt a sense of calm wash over her. For the first time in a long time, she was completely absorbed in the present moment, losing herself in the colors and shapes. As the weeks went by, her paintings became more bold, more expressive. She began to experiment with different styles, finding new ways to express herself. She even started taking her paintings to local art shows, where to her surprise, they began to sell. Her newfound passion gave her a sense of purpose, a reason to get out of bed each morning. It was a reminder that there was still beauty in the world, and that she was capable of creating it. One day, while sitting in the park watching the children play, she met a kind woman named Margaret. They struck up a conversation and soon realized they had a lot in common. Margaret was also an artist, and she too had found her passion later in life. The two women became fast friends, spending hours talking about art, life, and everything in between. Margaret became her mentor, guiding her through the world of art, helping her to hone her skills and find her unique style. As the years passed, the old woman's life took on a new lease of meaning. She no longer dreaded the sunrise. In fact, she looked forward to it, knowing that each new day brought with it the promise of new experiences, new challenges, and new opportunities for growth. She learned that change wasn't something to be feared, but rather embraced. It was through change that she'd found her true self, her voice, her passion, and most importantly, she discovered that it was never too late to make a change. You are never too old to chase your dreams. And so the old woman spent her golden years traveling the world, painting, exploring, and most importantly, living a life filled with purpose, passion, and joy. The tiny ember that refused to be extinguished had grown into a roaring fire, warming her heart and illuminating her path. The once dreading woman had become a beacon of hope, proving that it's never too late to rewrite your story.